Good. All right, very warm welcome to Monday night meditation. This is Monday nights, particularly warm welcome if you're new to Monday nights. This is a chance for Brixton Buddhist community and people to join in what we're doing, which is just to support each other with our meditation, just to kind of encourage each other with meditation. So kind of by doing that, we kind of create some energy for the practice for each other. So it's really good. My name is Mark Chennai, if you don't know me. I'm an order member with the Triratna Buddhist movement, Triratna Buddhist order. And I'm a teacher here at Brixton. And I'm delighted tonight. We've got friends that we've invited down. We're here in Effra Space, which is in central Brixton. I'll just say who's here. It says Emma's here. Stephanie, we've got Anna, Jack's here, and Cheryl's on the tech tonight. She's having her debut on the tech, so you can wish Cheryl well doing the technology tonight. So we've been and also it'd be really good if you at home just let us know who you are, and so I can see you, I can say hello. That'd be great. And you can just put that into the chat function. Okay, so we've been for the last 4 weeks at least been doing a series called the Brahma Viharas, which translates into the heavenly abodes or the immeasurables, or another way of rendering it is the practices which open the heart, or even practices which kind of turn our heart around. So there's a set of meditations, a set of 4 meditations that we were exploring one by one. And last week we did the Karuna Bhavana. The Karuna translates as compassion. So we did the Karuna Bhavana, and it's what Metta, which is this basic orientation of the heart, this basic opening of the heart to our experience and to ourselves and other people. It's what happens when we open to people that are struggling, the people in difficulty, people who are suffering. Yeah. So we're going to continue that this week. I'm really glad that we're continuing that because, we really need this faculty. We really need it in our lives. At the moment, we're all really stretched. We don't know what's happening next. There's all sorts of uncertainty, and it's very, very tempting. It would be. It's very easy to kind of close down against what's happening. Close down to. All our own concerns about security and difficulty, financial health and so on. So kind of close down and hunker down and bunker down. But that way, that constriction leads really down into a kind of hard-heartedness, which really isn't going to be in our own best interest. It's not going to be in our own best interest. It's painful, and it's not going to be in the best interest of other people. So it's really, really important. I'm really, really glad that we're having a second go at Karuna Bhavana this week. Yeah. So we'll be exploring that, and then there'll be a guided meditation after that. Okay. So as always, we're going to do a short body scan, short body awareness, just to get us up to the present moment, really, so that we can really touch into the present moment more fully. Yeah, we're not lost in thoughts about what's happened during the day. We can really touch into what's happening right now. Yeah. So let's have a little go at that together. So you don't need to be on meditation cushions if you haven't got them. You can just be in a chair or on a sofa. But if you've got cushions, that's fine. So just sit yourself down and get yourself in an upright posture. Whether you're in a chair, don't use the chair to support you. Just sit up under your own steam, and just kind of what we're looking for is a quite upright, energised posture. But then just once you've found that, just relax. Just kind of try and find some ease in your posture. Yeah, and then if you're happy to, just closing your eyes. And just noticing straight away, making the decision straight away to just tune into what's actually happening now. So one of the One of the easiest things, one of the best things to tune into is the body. The body is kind of live, so we can feel it in real time. So we're just feeling our way into this physical experience of just sitting here with whatever day we've had, whatever kind of day we've had. We'll feel that in the body. So just taking a moment to tune in to your own physical experience. And we don't need to find that necessarily pleasant. It's good just to start turning towards it, however it is just at the moment. And we can notice this area where our body's in contact with the ground. So the sensations present there are a little bit stronger, a bit more vivid. So we don't need to do anything other than just to feel what's there in this contact between our bodies and the ground. And then just starting to notice that part of your body that's in contact with the ground, whether it's the feet or your knees or your backside on the cushion or on the chair. Getting a sense now of your legs, just bringing your awareness into your legs as fully as you can. You might notice some kind of tingling, some sense of aliveness in the legs. There may be some feeling of holding on. So we can just start to let that go. So we get this sense of the legs just releasing down into that contact with the ground. And now noticing this area of the belly. Sensations present in the belly. You may want to take some slightly deeper breaths down into the belly just to kind of really feel the belly wall opening and relaxing with the in-breath and the out-breath. And within all that sensation, you might notice some sort of holding on, some sort of tensioning. And just start to encourage that to let go and to soften. And then just feeling your back, lower back, moving your awareness up your back, Getting this sense of this body just rising up. Feeling the back of the shoulder blades, the shoulders. Just noticing this space of the shoulders. Again, just see if you can start to soften and let go of the shoulders. Bringing your awareness up into this area of your face. Around the eyes. Just allowing the muscles around your eyes to start to soften. And any furrows in your forehead to start to smooth. Start getting this feeling that the face is just resting. And just coming down into contact with the breath in the torso, in the chest. Just feeling the front and sides and back of your rib cage all moving with the breath. So just staying at ease as we tune into this breath for a few moments. Don't need to push any thoughts away or particularly engage with anything. Just letting everything be there as it is and just feeling the breath as it moves in the body. And just coming back again into that contact with the ground. It's that sense of groundedness. And also just becoming aware that we're meditating with other people, friends, maybe old friends, maybe new friends, friends in potential. Just getting this sense of meditating with other people. Okay, good. So yeah, I'm going to talk a bit about this Karana Bhavana, this cultivation of compassion. What happens when Metta meets suffering? And as I was saying, I'm going to just be kind of going over a little bit of the ground from last week. So if you were there last week, that's fine. We're just going to kind of deepen into that exploration a little bit, and I'll be saying a few new things as well. So what I was saying last week is there's really only one Brahma Vihara. Yeah, I just said a minute ago, kind of contradicted myself. I said there was 4, but there's only really one Brahma Vihara, which is Metta, which is this heart opening. Yeah, and what happens? We don't need to worry about adapting Metta to the different circumstances if we're opening our heart, opening our kind of interest towards what's happening with this kind of warm, curious attitude. If it meets suffering, it will just become empathy and compassion. Yeah? We don't need to kind of try and do that. Yeah? So I think that's quite important. We don't need to try to force out a special type of metta. Yeah, so we can trust in that. And prior to that, we were talking also about mudita bhavana, which is this other resonance of metta when it meets joy, when it meets things that are going well in other people, and that kind of resonance with that. And again, we don't need to kind of force out something different. You know, that's just going to spontaneously happen. So we were saying last week that it's important to ask questions. Well, I think it's good to ask questions. It's good to ask questions of ourselves. What's kind of going on in our actual experience, yeah? So that we don't assume that we kind of know ourselves fully. We don't know our experience fully. It's good to ask these questions. It can be surprising, yeah? And the basis for asking these questions, as I said there earlier on, is that it's in our interest to open up to what's happening in us, that is to say, in our lives, and being able to turn towards it fully, and in other people's lives. It's really in our interest to do that, because the opposite, the alternative, is a closed down kind of state, yeah, where you're just kind of, as I was saying, kind of getting into that kind of bunker mentality. Interestingly, I've been suffering from a bit of neck pain over the last weeks, and I noticed that tendency to draw in on myself, on my own experience, and to stop kind of considering others, and to start just kind of dwelling in my discomfort. And I found that movement of my mind painful, as well as the pain, if you see what I mean. I found that movement of my mind uncomfortable. So I was making an effort to still stay connected with other people, finding out how they were and so on. So, yeah, the first question I was going to ask last week was, what's our attitude to suffering? And it's very tempting, especially if we've been kind of think of ourselves as Buddhists, or even think of ourselves as good people. It's very tempting to say that we know what our attitude to suffering is, but I think it's worth exploring it. It's very difficult to turn towards suffering, actually. So, and a number of things can get in the way of that. A number of kind of attitudes, stances can get in the way of that. And one of the things I was saying last week is that we can have a subtle idea that it's kind of wrong to suffer. I've noticed this, as I was saying, in relation to myself over the last few weeks. I thought of myself generally as a kind of fit and healthy person. So I've always thought, I've never suffered from anything particularly severe or for any particular length of time. And I realised I was holding a subtle attitude of, if people suffer, they haven't really been looking after themselves. Yeah, and so there's a kind of subtle way of kind of pushing away from other people. Yeah. So I realised this time that I have looked after myself, and yet here I am in trouble. So it's really brought that attitude to light in a way, slightly sobering. Another area that I've been considering is our kind of impotency. Is that right? Impotency in the face of suffering. And what can kind of happen as a result of that is a couple of things. We can start to get frustrated. I'm thinking of kind of like activists, really want to see change, want to see it now. And part of that can be turned into anger, can turn into frustration, can turn into blame, and that really starts to become part of the problem then. Part of the problem, part of the kind of polarisation. So this kind of impotency in the face of climate change and impotency of government restrictions and so on can kind of turn into kind of a rage. We see that, don't we? We can see that in response. The other thing that can happen, though, as a result of that, is kind of an apathy. You just kind of give up, kind of slightly give up being worried about the other people. You slightly give up being worried about other people and turn more and more into your own concerns, your own self-concerns, which may or may not involve 2 or 3 people that are close to you. But it becomes more kind of limited to your own little sphere. Yeah, so you can start to just think, I can't do anything about any of that. I'll just kind of take care of my patch. Yeah. So there's a closing down there in one's sense of kind of agency to a broader kind of community. So I talked a bit about those last time already. A couple of new ones I've been considering this week, because there seem to be a lot of things that can get in the way of responding to suffering. It seems to be a lot of things that can get in the way. And another one I thought of was that we can just start to feel overwhelmed. We just feel like it's just too much. It's just too much going on, you know, just go into kind of an anxious kind of state. There's this phrase, horrified anxiety. You a kind of frozen, kind of anxious state where it looks like you're kind of considering the problems of the world with your friends, and you know you're looking at the news, you're staying in touch with what's going on, but the internal experience is one of kind of horrified anxieties, a kind of real a nervous tension. And in that state, I'm suggesting it's very difficult to actually really touch suffering in any meaningful way. Yeah, finally, to add to the kind of obstacle, I feel like one of those, those high hurdles you've got to get over, finally get through the line of compassion, yeah. But there is a lot it seems there's quite a bit to work through. So the final one, which I think is almost quite insidious, particularly amongst Buddhists, which is a kind of niceness. You turn a nice face towards people suffering, you look empathetic, and you make the right noises, you make the right noises, but really there's not a lot of resonance with what's happening. Yeah? So I think, we need to just kind of delve and feel out what's actually going on. Yeah? So hopefully today we'll have a slightly longer sit, and we'll have a way of kind of feeling out what's happening in these different stages. Yeah. Yeah. So the word compassion, I'm told, derives from this con. This con derives from the Latin to be with. I said that last time. So kind of alongside. So I'm considering compassion as a kind of spectrum here now, and I'm interested in us exploring where are we in that spectrum as we move through the practice of the Karuna Bhavana. At one end, the kind of blocked response to what's happening. Yeah, we know we're blocked because we know what it feels like to feel open. So we know what it feels like to feel tight and unresponsive. So there's that. Kind of midway is kind of empathy. It's kind of you are in tune with what's happening. You're yeah, you are tuned in. You're touching into it. You're even trembling alongside. There's this lovely word, akadampa in Buddhism, which is kind of trembling alongside. You're alongside. You are there with the person or yourself in what's happening. But compassion in its full-blown kind of guise, and I think it's quite rare actually, is a real heart kind of wish for the alleviation of that discomfort, of that suffering. You may not be in a position to do that, may well not be in a position to do that. It may be that you listening is entirely appropriate as to what's needed at the moment. But in that quality of listening is a real kind of intent of relief, a relief of this suffering. Yeah? So, we've got this kind of spectrum. And I think it's really important not to judge ourselves on where we are at any given time, because it is very, very easy to fall into any of those kind of blockages, I think. Very, very easy. Much easier than we think. So yeah, we can find out for ourselves how we are through the stages. So I'll guide us through the stages. We'll start with the self. We'll start with the spaces of metta, turning towards we'll use this analogy of the well, the dark well, just kind of reaching our mind out, reaching our hands out to kind of feel what's going on, not assuming we know what's happening in ourselves, in our feelings. And then, unusually for the metta bar, there's an extra stage, as I said last week, which was we bring to mind someone we know is suffering, someone we know is in difficulty, and we just turn that open-heartedness in their direction. And then we move through the stages as normal. So, good friend, mutual person, someone we're having difficulty with, and then equalising out that feeling and moving beyond this sphere of the people that we know, outward. So, right, to have a go at that. Let's have a little look at who's here with us doing this with us. So, hi Tom, it's good to have you with us in Herne Hill. Hi Sarah in Sussex. Hope your move to Sussex went well. Good to have you with us. Hi Saffron. Oh, nice to have you with us, Saffron. Just round the corner. Debs, hello. 2 Janes. No, one Jane. There's one Jane, but she's just saying hello, and she's saying she's in Hampshire. Hi Alex, he's running the Zoom later. We'll talk a bit about that later. Hi Alex. Peter in Forest Hill. Hi Peter. Jill, and hi Pam as well. So really good to have you all with us. So let's have a session now on this Karuna Bhavana and see how we get on. There'll be a chance for questions as well. I'll be expecting questions, in fact, because I think it's an area where there are questions really naturally need to arise about how to handle difficulties in our lives and other people's lives. So let's turn inwards now, just closing the eyes, feeling our way back into this physical experience of ours that we're having right now. And just noticing if you're holding on in any way. Just see if you're holding on in your body. Is there kind of resistance in your body? So we can't just get rid of that, but we're just noticing it. And there's something magic about this quality of awareness, which is the change itself. So we're just noticing our body and noticing any resistance. Just bringing in this intention of softening Softening in our minds, softening in our bodies. Karana Bhavana. So in itself, this resistance is painful, is a constriction. So we just start to feel our way out into that. Turning into it. Noticing any sense of drawing back or concern about exploring this way. Just in a way stretching out our mind, stretching as if we're stretching out our hands just to feel our way into these tensions. There may be thoughts attendant on them as well. We may have ideas about the tension. So just allowing that to be there as well. Just not necessarily knowing that we know why we're holding on the way we do. So we're noticing any tensions, but we're also noticing what happens as they soften, or if they soften. Any changeable quality in that. Just keep coming back to this sense of ease and this gentle exploration of our body, our hearts. Just bringing to mind somebody that we know is struggling at the moment. Just whoever you think of is the right person, just bringing them to mind, bringing them out close in your mind. Just starting to notice what happens as we bring our orientation towards this other person. and this acknowledgement that they're struggling. We can't force a response to them, we're just noticing what our response actually is. In a way, there's this implicit encouragement to open up to this person and the difficulty that they're in. Just being alongside them, it's important to keep a sense of them. At the same time, this awareness of how we are in response to them. We're staying in the body. Try not to get into discursive thought about what's happening, staying with the sensations of the body. So we move towards now our good friend. Somebody we've got a good, vibrant, happy relationship with at the moment. And just whoever comes to mind, that's the right person. So the facts of the matter is that our friend is prone to suffering, comes with being a human being, part of the human experience. So we're just acknowledging that in our friend, Careful not to try and explain away or advise. We're just being with our friend, the presence of them in our minds, acknowledgement of this possibility of their suffering and our response to that. And our response to that is physical. We can feel either hardness or we can feel an opening, but whatever we feel, it's a physical sensation. You may feel it in the area of the heart or in the tummy. You may feel slightly out of the body. We don't necessarily need to locate it in the physical body. And just staying at ease and not forcing. So we let our good friend go. And bring to mind somebody who we don't know so well, or we don't have a strong feeling about one way or the other. We neither really strongly like them or strongly dislike them. It's likely that we'll have a mild like or a mild dislike, but something quite neutral, close to the neutral. Maybe someone at work or in your area where you live. So whoever comes to mind, that's the right person. Try to get a sense of them. Just notice how your mind might want to slip away from them. Just get a good sense of them. Recall maybe the last time you saw them. And I know you might not know this person well, just acknowledging this person, like you, and like your good friend, has this capacity for suffering. Things not going their way, losing things that they would like to keep, material, physical, or their health, relationships, or not getting things that they would like to have. All that is part of this person's experience. Feeling our way into our response. If it's indifferent, why is it indifferent? Or if it's an opening, we can just go with that. See where that takes us. But whatever's happening, don't lose touch with your physical experience. So now we're going to bring to mind somebody that we're struggling with. And just whoever you pick is the right one. And just think to ourselves, well, do we want this person to suffer? Is that of benefit to ourselves? Or is that a benefit to them? Can we see beyond our difficulty without papering it over? So just acknowledge that this person is a person. And then also pray to suffering in the way that we are. Physical suffering, mental suffering. And what happens if we reflect in that way? Staying with the sensations of the body. Hard to sometimes feel with where they start and where they end. And then bringing together all these people we've been spending time with. Tuning one by one into each of them. And then just allowing your mind to start to expand out in any way that feels natural. Maybe to the people in the room, or the people in the flat or house that you're in. Start to expand out. All the people you know, all the people they know. These vast, ever-growing, concentric circles of connections, of people, other beings. All pray to this basic capacity, ability to suffer. So then we just allow ourselves to dwell in whatever's going on without making any more effort. And away, your mind is now off the leash, it's just roaming in its own way. Just staying with the fruits of what we've just been doing together. Feeling your connection with the ground. And your connection with one another. Seen and unseen. Here meditating together. Okay, great. I'm going to have a look and see if anyone else has joined the fray. Put these in. Okay, so I'm going to open it up now just to see if there's any questions. There must be questions. There's always questions. What happened? It could just be a comment. It doesn't need to be framed as a question, but what kind of happened in any of those stages? You could tell me, or maybe there's something you weren't quite sure of.
I had a question.
Yeah.
In the section where you were bringing to mind someone who you know is suffering,
Yeah.
I felt really aware that my mind was really going into lots of ways to try and help, or dwelling in the narratives again, and it felt like a kind of my brain justifying why it was being distracted. And I kept trying to bring back to just being with the person, but it kept getting drawn into that kind of, it was just spinning off in a way that it didn't with the latest stages. And so I wondered if you had any tips how to try and stay with someone instead of.
Yeah, that's a good question, Emma. So, I mean, it could have been that you just developed a more sensitivity as you went on through the stages. So obviously the first time, in a way it's quite strange to bring somebody to mind willfully, isn't it? Normally people come to mind, they just kind of randomly, so to speak, or in a connection with something that you're engaged with. So to willfully bring people to mind is quite a kind of thing to do in itself. So it might be that initially one does that, the mind's like, it's quite kind of slightly agitated. It's like, oh, what's going on now? I'm trying willfully to bring this person to mind and have a response to them, and that's quite, that's not something we've been doing for the rest of the day. That's a new kind of task in a way. So it might be that it's just you're trying to assimilate and respond to that kind of activity of your mind, if you see what I mean. So that might be what's happening. The other thing that might be happening is it might just be quite a... there might be well-worn patterns there as well, which you could actually become interested in. So, for example, a real tendency is to... well, I don't know, I'd be interested to see if you do this, but kind of problem solve around people's suffering, or difficulties. Suffering's a big word, isn't it? Maybe difficulties is more kind of accessible word, but it might be that that's something that you're kind of prone to doing. I mean, that's what a lot of us do is, when someone's telling you that they're struggling, it's quite difficult, isn't it? I noticed that it's just quite difficult to just kind of relax, just like listen to that, quite quickly you want to kind of come back with something helpful. So I really question that impulse to come back too quickly. That's what I don't think that is compassion, if you see what I mean. That's like, let's try and get rid of this suffering quickly, because it's just uncomfortable. So I just think it's interesting to notice my tendency to want to do that. So yeah, I don't know if that is something that way of habitual way of what happens when you come into relationship difficulty. But it might be that, So whatever our mind's doing as a result of any of the stages, it's kind of like just good to just get interested in that, if you see what I mean, without saying, no, I should be doing that. I should be having this really like Hollywood kind of moment here, Bringing your attention to that is the thing that will kind of clarify it for you and actually start to stabilise you in the practice, if you see what I mean. I don't know if that's helpful. Is that helpful at all? Yeah. Jack.
I've been told before that with metta practices, you should, this might just be beginner's advice, but you should try to stick to people roughly your age and your gender to keep things straightforward. But I find that when I bring to mind people who are at a different stage of life to me, they're the people that I don't normally think to offer my compassion to. If someone's much older than I am, for instance, I just think of them as being, because I think of them as being in a different world to me, in a sense. So that they're the people that I find bring up the most interesting reactions from my mind when I bring them into the meditation.
So it's a good question. So I don't know if you, hopefully you're able to pick that up through the mic, but Jack's asking like, well, he's been told that, early on in learning to meditate, you get told to choose people that are easier to relate to. That usually, so there's no sexual kind of attraction there. They're a similar age, so you're not projecting kind of father figure or mother figure onto them, or children, but kind of protectivity. So you're not getting caught up in kind of roles in a way, what is this close enemy to metta, which is called pema, or basically like kind of a wanting of the person rather than a kind of wanting of their well-being, if you see what I mean, a kind of craving. So that's a kind of corrective early on, to not get caught up in things which kind of feel a bit like metta, but actually are feelings a bit more kind of sticky in a way. So there's this word, pema, which is a stickiness, kind of a bit less straightforward. So although there is that advice, and it has its benefits, I think, to hear it so that you can at least think, is this kind of what I'm doing? Am I involved in just attraction here? You know, so it's good to kind of hear the advice so that you can know if it's something that you're need to kind of watch for. But once you've heard it, I think you can start to trust your mind to widen the kind of field in a way, you know. So I said throughout that meditation, whoever comes to mind, that's the right person, and that is how I practice, you know, whether it be young, old, same gender, other gender, gender non-binary, whatever that person who comes to mind is, I just work with that. So I think that's the more fluid, kind of responsive way to work in the practice. But I think it is useful to hear that kind of slight words of warning or words of kind of care, that one's not falling into, you know, just kind of being very protective about the child, or being, you know, kind of projecting something. It's so easy to start projecting out. So just, in a way, we're always doing that. So in a way, like, you could almost just say that's a kind of given, because we are from a Buddhist point of view, we never quite know what's out there. We know something's out there, but we never quite know what's out there, because it's all filtered through our perceptions. So there's always projection happening, but it's just a kind of, to be on guard for the more gross kind of manifestations of that, I suppose. Yeah. Is that kind of like, yeah, good. Just check if there's anything coming from home. No, you're all very quiet at home there, so but that's all right. So let's see, how are we doing? Any other little comments or reflections? Anything else? All right. So I'm going to say a couple of words more before we finish up. There is also a follow on Zoom, which I'll say a little bit about as well. I mean, in a certain way, gosh, I'm saying to the guys here as they were coming in that, what a strange time. It's like everything is entirely provisional, like all the time. Plans are changing. Life is both more limited, but much more kind of fluid in a strange way. And it's disconcerting, it's worrying, it feels out of our control a lot of the time. So how do we respond to all of that? And that is what these practices are about. That is what this community is about, is how to find the resources to really respond in our life, especially at times of difficulty. Yeah? So we're trying to support each other to do that, and that's having an effect. That's having an effect on all our spheres of influence. You know, all our spheres of influence, all our workplaces, our family circles, and so on. So I think this is a lovely feeling of, you know, like it's like that kind of image of like the rain on a lake, you know, the pitter-patter of lake, and the little concentric circles that kind of move out and blend with each other and so on, you know. So in a way, we're trying to provide the rain of the Dharma, the rain of kind of practice, which has these strange and interconnecting effects. So to do that, it takes a lot of time and effort, and we're putting on new, we're trying to be creative. One of the things about a time of turbulence is there's also an opportunity for creativity, and we're trying to turn towards that with new podcasts, new festival days, new evenings, and so on. But in order to do all of that needs money. So we've got a target of £2,000 a month. This month we've reached £1,384. Normally we have a little dynamometer, but that's on holiday this week. So it's £1,384. I don't know why I still did that. That's just a habit now. So we need £616 to reach our target, which is to basically pay the key people to keep things going, yeah, and to pay the costs of the rental spaces and so on that we need. So any contribution that you can make is really welcome, and the links, Cheryl's going to be putting the links up in the chat box. So anything that you can give to this shared endeavour is much appreciated. I want to thank a couple of people for making one-off gifts in the very recent days. One is Brian H and one is Richard B. So thanks very much for that, guys. So I've said a couple of things about things that are coming up. So just briefly, Wednesdays, it's now booked out. Wednesdays are now in person. We're allowed to meet as a religious community in person in small numbers. So you can find the details of that on the booking site. It's called Dharma Night. This next Wednesday is booked out, but the Wednesday after that I think still has spaces. So you can think about coming down and hearing the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, and knocking around how is that relevant to me meeting the challenges of my life. Yeah. So that's Dharma Night, starting now on Wednesdays here in person in every space. On Sunday we've got a festival day, Padmasambhava, the greatly precious guru, 8th century Tibet figure. We're celebrating Padmasambhava Day. There's going to be a talk from a much loved teacher, Maitreya Bandhu, made for the day. And then there's going to be ceremonies down here where 4 of our good friends in the community are going to become mitras. So and that means friend, it means a kind of deepening of commitment. So housed in a very beautiful ceremony. So do tune into that. It'd be lovely to be with everybody on the day for that, and that's on Sunday starting at 4 o'clock in 2 parts, 4 till 5:30. And then again from 7 till 10. Okay, so finally, the Zoom is happening just after 1:15. Alex is going to be hosting the Zoom call. Links are in the chat box, and that's an opportunity for anybody old and new in the community to just tune in with other actual living beings and talk about how life is going, and particularly from this point of view of meditation and practice. Yeah. So if you haven't done that, very welcome to come along.
There's a couple of questions in the chat.
Oh, a couple of questions in the chat. Oh, okay. Let's have a look. Last minute, we've got some last minute additions here. So this is from Debs. Thank you, Malchna. Thank you, Debs. Practical question: are the Saturday sessions with Amaladana happening at the moment? If so, what are the details? No, they're not, Debs. The Saturday morning sessions have been supplanted by this much kind of larger endeavour of the Wednesday in-person classes. Yeah, so that's going to be our main kind of Dharma exploration of the Dharma on a weekly basis. Yeah, so thanks for that, Debs. Yes, and in answer to Jane's question, yes, it is only in person on Wednesdays. The talk will be, the main talk, short talk will be videoed and put up online, but the whole evening will unfold live. So, it's unusual in this day and time to be saying that, but no, it's really pleasing. That's come as a result of a lot of hard work for lots of people, not me actually, but other people. So thanks very much, Cheryl. I think we could all give Cheryl a round of applause for her first debut on the tech, and I think everything went very smoothly as far as she
Speak too soon.
so speak too soon. All right. Thanks all you guys for coming down to Every Space, and thanks very much to everyone for joining us. So hope you have a very good evening.